We love Star Trek over at Hey You Guys Towers. I wanted to ask you, I was thinking about your kind of whole adventure and your whole journey across the course of these kind of seasons, and you've got to work with some of the most incredible people over the years. I mean, obviously there's like Sonequa, but then you've got some other people that kind of stepped in and like Michelle Yeoh, Jason Isaacs, David Cronenberg. Is that been part of the thrill for you, being able to collaborate with such a sort of decorated collective?
There were so many opportunities to work with amazing actors. I mean, even Bill Irwin guest starred on our show, who is to me, a theatrical god. I'm from New York. I'm from the stage. Um, you know, this series, whether it was the series regulars or our guest stars, truly pushed us to be better. These scenes took on a life of their own when there was an actor who came in and elevated it. I think about my scenes with David Cronenberg, who wasn't he didn't consider himself an actor, but had so much fun playing this character and challenged me in many ways. Tig Notaro, who also didn't consider herself an actress, but her timing and everything she brought to a scene, kept me on my toes. So I've loved every single moment that I've had with all of these actors, truly.
And character-wise, did you feel a sense of closure for Hugh Culber? Do you think he got to where he needed to be when all was kind of said and done?
It's funny because even before we knew that this would be our last season, we had finished the season before we found out. I was home, and but when I was shooting my last scene, which is me and Book in the shuttle, grabbing onto the edifice that held all of the power, and we see this that we've come through this moment, and that there was no explanation for any of it, right? And it's something that kind of would have driven Culber crazy. And he finds himself in this moment getting a memory of Janal's that he'd never gotten one before, but allowed him to save the day, and he has no explanation for it. But there's this sense of wonder and awe and relief that early on in Culber's journey would have been impossible. He's a scientist. He needs answers for everything. So there's a moment where he's just relieved that he's gotten to a point where he's okay with the mystery of the universe and of life in general. So I had worked up to that point as an actor because I wanted there to be a turn of a page for season 6, that we would see him in a new way after this experience. So it really was a turning of a page, a kind of a closing of a chapter. And I didn't know that it was going to be the closing of the character, but it worked either way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's quite unique, really, because most of the time when a season, especially one that's had multiple seasons, kind of comes to its end, it's usually done with the kind of knowledge when it's being shot that this is going to be the kind of the final episode, or this is going to be the final wrap. So I just wanted to ask about that, because in this kind of unique circumstances, because I think we put so much emphasis on how the viewers feel when one of our favorite shows kind of is kind of cancelled or comes to an end. But how did it feel to you as one of the actors? I mean, this is when you're in a show for this kind of period of time, it almost is kind of part of your day-to-day life, I suppose. Would you remember how you felt that day? It must have been a bit of a shock, I suppose.
Well, similarly as the audience, because I'm an audience member too, I was heartbroken. You know, it's no secret that when we had that call, I was the one who was the biggest mess on the call. um, because the show meant so much to me, but because these people mean so much to me, because I've learned so much from them. And I felt like there was so much more story left to tell. And especially for Hugh and for Paul and for their little family. There was so much opportunity there for storytelling. And I was really excited about Culber was going to be, now that he had finished this journey of self realization, that he had created this new life for himself. And I was excited to see him embrace it in a new way. So there was disappointment, but there was also real satisfaction in knowing that I gave everything I had to every single one of those seasons, that I created a character who was unexpected and went on an epic journey. And so, you know, I'm ready to tackle whatever life brings along now. Whatever.
I mean, you said, I mean, there is every character, not just yours, but I mean yours particularly, but all the characters always, you can always think of other avenues they can go down and other ways they can kind of grow and become and sort of like have other narratives and new relationships and stuff. So do you think we're done? I mean, do you hold a little element somewhere of hope in you that one day you're going to return in some capacity as this character?
I mean, you're talking to a person who played a character that came back from the dead. So if he can come back from the dead, I'm sure there is a way for him to pop up in the franchise somewhere. Everyone who is involved with the show knows that I'm more than willing to do that, you know, depending on how it is presented. But I would love nothing more than to step into that white uniform again, but under the right circumstances, obviously. But I wouldn't be shocked if we saw him at some point.
So just very finally, then I just wanted to ask, because obviously, you know, I mean, just obviously assume on the sort of premises this could be the end. A major part of Star Trek is the fandom. I just wanted to know what it's meant to you. You've spoken about working alongside all the great actors. What it's meant to you on a personal level to have shared this with the fans of the series. I mean, be it at conventions, social media, just on the street. What has that element of the experience been like for you?
To have people walk up to you, you know, we're making entertainment. I'm not fooling myself into thinking that I'm an actual doctor and I'm saving the actual world. But there is something to be said for the power of representation, for the power that a series like this and a character like this has in terms of allowing people an ability to imagine that they too can create the kind of life for themselves that Hugh did, right? This was a person who questioned everything about his life when he came back and made choices about what he wanted to do and who he wanted to be. And I think that's really empowering for people. I hope that people walked away, you know, while I was doing it, I was hoping that people would walk away with a sense of, you know, at any point in our lives when we're dissatisfied, we can choose to make different choices about our lives. And to have fans come up to me at conventions or online or in social media saying that literally is how they felt about it has been really satisfying. You know, the diehard fans of this series were so committed to it and were so connected to it that it allowed us to continue to be excited about making more of it. So they were the lifeline, you know, the soul of the series. We made it for them, and their satisfaction has been overwhelming.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Wilson. And thank you for this character. And maybe one day we'll get to speak again for this show. All right, take care. Thank you. Cheers.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey you guys!
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey you guys!
Hey, you guys!